Hello YouTube. So over the last pardon me, I'm just passing a bunch of people here, then I'll start the video once I get past. Try not to run over anyone with my bicycle, but I thought it'd be cool to make this video as I'm on a bicycle to show you some more of this gorgeous footage that we get while riding. But today I did want to talk about one potential issue with this camera that I've been thinking about. In my opinion, it comes down to the form factor itself. Anyone who has this camera can tell you that it's a neat little movement when you turn it on and off. It's very interesting how honestly it just feels futuristic. Like this feels like a camera from the future, the way the gimbal protects itself, protects its lens as it closes, and just kind of whips into place as it opens. And then the triple tap to turn the gimbal, like it feels like we're at the point where, you know, us as filmmaker needs to think less, and the camera is starting to do all the thinking for us. But it's that movement itself, that opening and closing of the gimbal. Particularly when you close it, you hear a sound. I'm not sure if it's just the magnets in the gimbal itself, or if it's an actual clicking, like you know, like when you lift too much weight at the gym and your joints make a weird sound. It almost sounds like, ooh, the gimbal's like hurting a little bit every time it makes that move. And I wonder, I'm being a bit joking here, but I seriously wonder whether that part is going to break after significant enough usage, because there's different forms of filmmaking, obviously. There's people who like to do long takes where essentially your camera is open and then it just runs and runs and runs. And then you got to worry about things like overheating. But if you're someone like me, you actually film in a very different style. When I made my review video, I probably turned this thing on and off 100 times. 50 to 100 times at minimum, like well over 50 times. Leaving it on doesn't really make sense because then the lens is exposed, and if you put it in your pocket, like it can twist the gimbal in a weird direction. So it just logically it makes sense to turn it off every time between shots. And that means that pretty quickly you are turning it off 50 to 100 times. And for those of you who are saying, you know, obviously DJI would think of something like this. Obviously, like, for anyone out there who's doubting this concern, I'd like to bring up Exhibit A, my first piece of evidence in defense of what I'm saying. And that was the Canon G7X Mark II. Does anyone know this camera? If you've been in the YouTube space for a while, I'm sure you do, because this was a point and shoot camera by Canon, released way back in 2016. And it has a long history of being the quote unquote greatest vlogging camera. And you know, actually I shouldn't say quote unquote. It really was a nice little camera. Why did I stop using that camera? Well, it broke actually. And the part that broke was actually the on-off switch would no longer, like, it had a lens that every time you press on and off, it would, you know, it was a power zoom. So like the shutter bit would open up and then the lens would come out. So it was like it was a mechanism that made the camera ready to shoot. And again, because I was opening and closing it like 50 times a day, you think about, after making 100 videos, you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of movements. And I think these companies who make vlogging cameras, they're testing a lot of things, but I don't know if they're actually aware of how often that style of filmmaking involves turning cameras on and off again. And so with this camera, my hopes are high. Obviously I've had it for, only a handful of days now. But I wonder, as the days turn to weeks, turn to months, will we start to see anyone who's had issues with the mechanism itself? Was this an issue for anyone on the Pocket 1 or 2, the previous iterations of this camera? Did they also have the same movement where the lens hides itself when it turns off and like has that neat form factor? I don't have direct experience with those cameras, so I'd be interested to know if anyone can enlighten us on that. But other than that, my first impressions of this camera remain very high, and I hope that I'm proven wrong. I'm not trying to say like I found the flaw that no one else has thought of or something like that. But I do want people to be aware of longevity issues, because for a small camera like this, the price is admittedly quite high. Well, that's an interesting statue or artwork. I don't know what that is. Never seen this before. Is there a sign telling us what it is? Nope. Just here to confuse people on bikes who are filming YouTube reviews. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Am I talking gibberish, or is there something to be said about the lifespan of a camera like this? Let me know in the comment section, and I will see you next time.